AITA for telling my dad that if my brother moves in, that I will leave. Originally posted by DigiKid2 in our Mark narrations on April 23. 23 updated on April 24. 23. An NBSP. Trigger warning. Addiction. Homophobia. Less than. An NBSP. Original. April 23. 23. An NBSP. AITA for telling my dad that if my brother moves in, that I will leave. First, I wanna apologize for any grammar or spelling issues. I'm on mobile and am dyslexic. Also love the channel and listen to it daily. I will also be willing to add any info needed. Need to give some background first. I, 26 meters, am the youngest of 4 boys between my divorced dad, 66 meters, and mom, 60F. Out of my 3 brothers I am close to one, Justin, 35 meters, the second oldest. I am in low contact with my oldest brother Jimmy, 40 meters. I only contact him to give updates on our dad's health, and am no contact with Zane, 34 meters. This particular post is about Zane, though I could make many other posts about Jimmy before he got sober. My dad was diagnosed with COPD my senior year of high school and has steadily been getting worse and worse as time went on. In my junior of college, my dad got to the point where he needed a caregiver. I was the only one willing and able to take the role on. Justin didn't have a steady job or vehicle. Jimmy wanted to charge our dad money and our dad couldn't afford it. And Zane refused to even help in any way. So I withdrew from college and moved to the town my dad lived in. I got a job to help ease the burden of the bills and took dad to doctors and essentially did everything for our dad. Justin eventually moved in after 2 years to help ease the responsibilities I had, and I am forever grateful for that. The issue is Zane is asking our dad to move in and bring his common-law wife Pixie, 37. Zane is an addict who is still using. The reason I am no contact and disowned him was because he is emotionally abusive to everyone around him. He and Pixie are physically abusive towards each other and fight near 24/7 and are always calling the cops on one another. He is openly homophobic. I am gay, and he put myself, our nephew and niece in a dangerous situation last year that could have resulted in us getting hurt. I also don't want him stealing from anyone in the house. He has a history of theft to feed his addiction. I know addiction is a disease. Jimmy was an addict for 90% of my life and is now clean and sober. Our dad was an alcoholic who stopped drinking when I moved in to help. I have nothing but respect for those who fight their addictions. But I have no sympathy for my brother. When I got home after work, my dad informed me that he invited Zane and Pixie to move in. I wasn't happy and told him that. He told me that he couldn't just let one of his sons be homeless. Then he reminded me that he could let anyone he wanted live here. The house is in Dad's name, but I pay half the bills while Justin and Dad pay 1/4 each. I've never used my paying a majority of bills against my dad, and I didn't this time. I simply informed him that if Zane and Pixie move in, I would be moving out. He got angry and accused me of making him choose between his sons. I told him I would never ask him to do that, but I wouldn't live with them, and just like how I couldn't tell him who he could invite to live here, he couldn't force me to live with someone I felt unsafe with and who has threatened me and stolen from me multiple times. Zane called me furious, accusing me of using the fact that I was Dad's caretaker as leverage against him moving in. I hung up when he started calling me slurs. It's gotten out to our very large family what's going on, and a majority are calling me an AITA For, threatening to move out if my brother moves in. However, my mom and other brothers are on my side. But now I'm sort of wondering if I went too far. AITA for telling my dad if my brother moves in, I move out? An NBSP. In the comments. I feel a little guilty because if I leave then my dad won't have a way to his doctors or to get his medications. We live in a small town with 300 people and 30 miles from the nearest pharmacy. However, Zane being here is something I won't tolerate, even if leaving makes me feel like a bad son. I've looked into the medication delivery a while ago, but we live too far away. We get certain medications delivered but others have to be filled and picked up at a pharmacy. Justin is great and agrees with me. He also doesn't want Zane here, but he is unwilling to do anything to stop it because he views it as us telling Dad who can and cannot live here. He also doesn't have a legal vehicle, which is why I even agreed to become a caretaker. To begin with, Zane has no desire to help others. He wants a free house and food. In the 6 years I've taken care of our dad, he has never once called to ask how he was. The only way he used to find anything out a group chat I made for the family. He would have no idea how to even begin dealing with our dad. We live about 300 miles from our closest relative that could help. Dad moved to a very small town away from everyone when he got sick. So the scheduled days sadly couldn't work. Don't get me wrong, if we lived closer to his family I would have a lot more help. One cousin, in particular, has always been extremely helpful. I've mentioned moving closer to his family but he refuses. My dad is usually good about respecting my boundaries. He thinks because I had no issues with Justin moving in, the only brother who never called me a slur or threatened me, then I should have an issue with Zane moving in. It's not the same. An NBSP update, April 24th, 23. An NBSP. Hey guys. I linked the original post. I wanna thank everyone for the support shown in my original post. Now for the update. We argued some more this morning before work and I laid it all out for him. If he insists on Zane moving in then I would call my best friend, 26 meters, and he would help me move all my stuff to a storage unit. I let him know he had until I got off work to decide. I also dealt with the flying monkeys. Every time they called they would ask, "How could yo abandon YPUR dad?" and, "How can you do this to family?" I would reply, "Oh, are you gonna come take care of him?" Or, "I'll let Zane know you offered to let him live with you." They stopped. Jimmy is shockingly on my side, even though I thought he would side with Zane since they were always closer. I got home a little while ago and Dad and I talked. Someone on here suggested Dad was so insistent because he felt like he failed Zane, and they were right. He thinks he failed as a dad and wanted NTK try and help. We had a nice talk and he agrees that letting Zane move in would cause more harm for everyone. I made it clear that if I came home AMD saw Zane, I was gone and would go no contact. So it ended well enough. But I am keeping my escape plans active for a while. I also bought extra locks for my room and Justin's room, just in case. Zane isn't happy and has been spam calling our mom because I blocked him and refused to even entertain the idea of unblocking, which she supports. I also want to say I love who Zane used to be, but I want nothing to do with him regardless of his sobriety or not. I hope he gets sober. But the damage has been done. An NBSP. Flaring this concluded as the brother has been blocked and the father is not allowing him to move in, which resolves the original issue. Reminder: do not comment on the original posts or contact the original poster. I am not the original poster. This is a repost. Wow. So his dad got sick and moved to a remote place far from family and with no services, which forced his son to drop out of college and become his caretaker, and refuses to move closer to help relieve the burden on his children. His dad is almost as bad as Zane. Poor Oop, spending his life in some podunk town, caring for his father. He couldn't even finish his degree. And there are probably not a lot of dating opportunities for gay guys out there. I really hope he won't look back in a few decades and regret. To be honest, I was actually rooting for Zayn to move in, so Oop could get his life back. Yikes. This poor man gave up his life to care for someone who has little to no regards for his feelings and safety. I was actually rooting for Oop to leave. I am Hispanic and we know someone is gonna take care of an elderly parent sooner or later. But Oop is so young. He already quit college. How many more years is he going to be stuck at home? Not having a life? Good for Oop! Exclamation mark. I feel for Oop so much. I can empathize with him. It's just gut-wrenching to have to choose yourself over your own loved ones. But when they treat you like this, manipulating those around you, stealing, lying, and abusing your loved ones, it's just not fair to you anymore to have to go through that. I hope he doesn't have to deal with it someday. I am glad this situation appears to be resolved in a good way for Oop. But what I don't understand is why you would want to move so far out into the middle of nowhere, away from anyone who could help you, when you are unable to drive yourself and have such serious medical needs. Oop aside, his father, who is an alcoholic, moving an addict into his home shows unbelievably poor judgment to begin with. I can't imagine that there is any recovery program anywhere in the world that would advocate that as a good idea. Ultimate power move. I'll let Zayn know you'll have him. Brilliant, and shuts up every argument against it. I hate the dad in this post. This is one of the reasons I couldn't go into elder care services. I get that it's incredibly hard to have your choices taken away and to become vulnerable after a lifetime of independence. However, that does not give you the right to make others live with the consequences of your poor decisions. Why on earth would the father move to a remote area as soon as he found out he could no longer live independently? It's downright dangerous. He'll die long before an ambulance arrives if he needs emergency care. Not to mention that it makes life so difficult for his son. Not that he cares about that. He feels guilty for failing Zayn as a father? What about Oop? I feel badly for the son to an extent. Giving up your life and education to become a caretaker at such a young age is so hard. I'm surprised his mother didn't actively try to stop him. He's now in a terrible situation that will only get worse. I have a feeling Zayn is going to make an appearance and the dad won't turn him away. Oop will either stay so that his dad won't die or leave. If he leaves, the situation will deteriorate until it's catastrophic and Oop will feel compelled to step in. Or, just as likely, the dad will die and Oop will struggle with guilt. The way Zayn has been responding to all of this proves that he hasn't changed and that him moving in would be bad for everyone. I have a brother exactly like Zayn, and he is currently in prison. When he gets out in a couple of years, he wants to move in at my elderly mom's place, which would be a terrible idea. Even my mom acknowledges it would be a terrible idea. But like the OP's dad, she claims she can't say no because he's her child. While I don't live with her, I visit regularly. Of all her kids, I'm the one who shows up and the one expected to take care of things when she needs care or she passes. So I've tried to tell her that if bro moves in, I am never coming to visit again. And she'll be on her own. And she gets upset and accuses me of making her choose between her children. I guess maybe next time I should just point out that she is indeed making a choice. He reminded me that he could let anyone he wanted live here. When you can't take care of yourself, or be financially independent, this is not the case. I feel bad for the Oop. He gave up his future to help his dad, when his dad is being completely unreasonable. He should never have had to give up college for this. His dad should have been willing to move to a better place where more people could help, instead of moving way out in the middle of nowhere. What is Oop going to do when his dad finally passes? There are no winners here. Honestly, Oop needs to bounce. He's already sacrificed more than he should and there is no end in sight. It's not his problem his whole family has decided to live in a way that is dependent and purposely inconvenient for them. They chose to live in an area without transportation or the will to figure it out. They also got to spend years without the stress or financial burden of caring for anyone but themselves. They, Dad and Justin, need to get their act together. If Justin really wants to help his family, he needs to pay Oop equal parts in the household spending. No more using Dad and his brother for cheap housing and freebies. Dad needs to move to be closer to the things he needs to survive. Eventually Oop will leave and Justin will probably split then too. Then he'll have nothing and guess whose fault it'll be. Remember folks, you don't need an active addition to be a toxic jerk. The flying monkeys should be able to raise whatever amount it takes to buy an apartment in the area, if they truly care. The issue is that Zane would likely steal the father's meds, and the fact that he hasn't bothered to ask a single time how he is just demonstrates that he is using Daddy to get a free place to live. I agree with Oop. It isn't a fair situation. And Dad should have spoken to Oop before making any decision, as he is helping to pay bills and is responsible. A gad, not concluded. I admire Oop. Such a good guy to take such good care of his dad. And awesome boundaries. Appropriate, needed, and firm as steel. What does Op mean by they listen to the channel every day? Honestly, I feel for Oop, because he's in such a bad spot. This particular situation ended okay for him, but he's basically supporting not only himself, but his dad and other brother. I think it will be hard for him to come to terms with the fact that he still is being taken advantage of here. I'm not faulting his dad for health issues, but I am sure this dynamic that they all have is not healthy and never has been.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.